Hi, I'm Geeta Nandikotkur, Managing Editor for Asia and Middle East with Information Security Media Group. I'm happy to welcome you to the next session in the agenda, A Practitioner's Journey Through the Zero Trust. The session titled Implementing Zero Trust, a CISO's Journey. And speaking on this is Dr. Erdal Ozkaya, Regional CISO and Managing Director at Standard Chartered Bank from UAE. In his presentation, Erdal will walk us through the various processes involved in implementing the Zero Trust framework and the big challenges that the CISOs can expect during this journey and what needs to be prioritized. Thanks, Erdal, for joining this discussion today and welcome. Hope you're doing good. It's all yours.
Thank you very much, Geeta. I'm doing wonderful. Thanks, God. And I hope you and everybody who's watching this video is doing great. So today, as you mentioned, I'm going to share my journey about implementing Zero Trust from a CISO eye. And before I start, as usual, this is my contact details for everybody who wants to stay in touch with me in social media, including LinkedIn. I guess you all know what Zero Trust is. It is a strategic initiative that helps prevent successful data breaches by eliminating the concept of trust from organizations' network architecture. Zero Trust is designed to protect modern digital environments by leveraging network segmentation, preventing lateral movements, and of course, providing layer 7 threat prevention with simplifying granular user access controls. I'm pretty sure you all heard about what is rooted in the principle of never trust, always verify. So, what are the benefits of Zero Trust? First of all, cost-wise. Zero Trust offers very affordable several security advantages if you can start from the beginning. Assuming, in a greenfield environment, Zero Trust can give you really this cost benefits, but in a complex environment, this might be not the case. It all depends on the scenario. It definitely gives you uniform security, regardless where your device user is, regardless of the location, it can connect and flattens the security playing field much easy. It gives you increased visibility as it is centralized. It is giving you centralized security, logging and management, as well as it is fully automation ready when it comes to your devices, applications, and any data that your end user is going to create based on the policies that you can set up. And if you select the right cloud service provider, it will give you also the benefits of using and utilizing the cloud. Of course, it's all about protecting your data, boosting your compliance with auditing, lowering the breach risk, and improving the detection time. As I said earlier, it gives tremendous visibility in the network traffic and control in your cloud environment. So, why are we having this conversation? Why everybody suddenly started to talk about Zero Trust? Because no matter what we do, the network environment that we are on is nearly 50, 60 years old from starting the first network. Cloud is around 10, maybe a little bit more than 10 years old. Zero Trust, it's not brand new as well. Since 2015, I think people started to talk about it. So it's all about access control, keeping assets away from hackers, because IT is complex. So CISO, what was a CISO 10 years ago? A security guy sitting somewhere in the office? Today, CISOs in good organizations report directly to the C-level. This could be the CIO. This could be the CIO, which I think is conflicts of interest, but the CEO, CFO, or COO. And they work with business accordingly to minimize the effects of attacks, which we started to hear a lot. So we are humans, we are based on trust. And we want to create our networks based on trust as well. So Zero Trust is about trusted network, trusted security strategy, which again, aims to minimize the attacks, lower the security, lower the cost of attacks, and increase the security within the network. Everybody talks about BYOD. We started to talk about World Health Federation, mobile, cloud, software service, but how are we going to integrate and make this in a fashionable, secure manner? Don't forget, as we do that, attackers shift also. When we started to move to cloud, identity became the main parameter. As a result, attackers started to shift to identity attacks. Look, at the moment, Gita, I cannot tell that I'm you because you're a beautiful, wonderful woman, and look at me, a bald old man. But if I somehow steal your credentials and send an email as you, it's going to be much harder to differentiate between you and me. Same things apply, of course, to the computing environment. So, all sounds nice. How was my journey? Was it simple or complicated? Again, keep in mind, whatever you read on the internet or whatever conference you attend about zero trust, first question that you should ask is, was this implemented in a brand new environment, which we classified as greenfield, or in a hybrid environment where suddenly a new environment has been created and built on? So, based on my experience, most of those happened in a greenfield situation. But what happened with me? Again, I will tell you this during this presentation. There is lots of challenges. And I mean, if you are not in a greenfield environment and you are going to transform your current complex IT environment to the cloud, your legacy system is going to be a challenge as well. Why? Because they don't have the capability to provide least privileges. Remember, zero trust is all about least privileges and segmentation. When it comes to peer-to-peer challenges, we all know that computers today communicate in a peer-to-peer network. They really don't verify too much, or they verify little, especially Windows environment or your Wi-Fi environment. So this is a bit more decentralized, even if you're an Active Directory environment. So there's going to be some challenges to this as well. Hybrid cloud. There are some cloud providers, unfortunately, which they don't have the capability to give you the micro segmentation model, which is a trust, not trust, which is a must in zero trust. So what else? Moving from storage model to data-centric storage model. So what is a storage model? Today, you store everything in your database. This could be sensitive data, or this could be just some standard data. I mean, when I said database, this could be also, of course, a storage location and etc. When you start to move to zero trust, you have to keep in mind that you have to separate sensitive data from usual data. I mean, when I say usual data, any data that you create, because the verification access control in zero trust is based, of course, on your data. Digital transformation, another buzzword which everybody was talking about years ago. And today, thanks to COVID, people started to talk about digital transformation as well. Please listen to your vendors, but ensure the digital transformation which they provide you, which they promise you, fits into you or into your organization. And if you're going to adopt digital transformation strategy, ensure it supports zero trust. Because I see many digital transformation partners, they offer low cost, but that low cost can maybe make your zero trust deployment harder. DevOps. I know many of you might use DevOps. Your DevOps environment will need automation. And if you have any kind of manual process, it's going to make verification slow and zero trust, going to create some troubles. So be aware, this is also a challenge. And as I said, least privilege and privileged access management. So zero trust is going to take away your privileges. You don't need to be the admin in the workstation. You don't need to be connect as admin from a non-trusted device to a trusted device. You will need to use a privileged access management, and this is a must. So if you have any shared access accounts, this has to be also removed. So if you have some legacy applications, which is required to have those kinds of accounts, means you have to remove it. What else? You know, it's like the trends. The trend is attackers using identity to bypass network controls. Phishing, right? I send an email, you click, allows attackers to impersonate valid user identities. And stealing credentials, as I said, me stealing Gita's credentials, will give the attackers access to Gita, for example. Passwords. We all know passwords aren't enough to protect identities, regardless how complex they are. So having a single factor authentication, which is password, is not the right thing. You need to also have MFA. As attackers, even if they steal your passwords, your MFA can protect you. And finally, this is the third step, which is identities being used outside the network. You might be in cloud, of course, everybody's in mobile, and IoT assets are frequently beyond reach of enterprise firewalls. Identity and access controls are inconsistent on different cloud service and devices. As a result, you have to ensure those are consistent. So, what should be your zero trust access control strategy? You should have some signals which assess your device risk. This could be via device management, threat detection, and so on. The user risk is, ensuring to have multi-factor authentication, behavior analytics using great partners such Microsoft Defender or Komodo, Dragon, or you name it. Your decision has to be based on the policies. Are you going to allow it? Is it going to be full access? Is it going to be limited access? Is it risky? Can you remediate the risk? So you have to reevaluate policies and how you respond to these policies. All this has to be coming to an enforcement. If you have a modern application, it's great. If you're using a software, software in the cloud, it's great. Like instead of having Exchange, maybe use Microsoft 365. So this is going to come to your decisions. Are you going to allow full access or are you going to allow limited access? What kind of assurance do you have? Are you going to remediate the risk or block the access? So the signals should come to a decision which need to be enforced by policy across resources. If you're a modern application, that's easy. If you're using Microsoft 365, Google G Suite, or similar software service account, it's easy, but this can be challenging, of course, with legacy application and so on. So, zero trust access control paradigms, what are they? So network, you have to have a zero trust policy for your network connections. As a result, you have to select your network security providers. Don't forget, microsegmentation is a must. And this microsegmentation is enhancing security network perimeter by shrinking trusted network to each server or IP addresses which is connected. It is limiting the security as a result. It's limiting the connections as a result, improving the security. The differentiation here is going to be having a scope of assets where zero trust is enforced. Of course, it's really important to have proper threat intelligence signal integration. When we look at the identity, it's not much different. Apply zero trust policy to access requests. Identify your vendors. And you might have to use now dual perimeter, which is an identity perimeter where inside is defined by authentication and authorization, which coexist with your network perimeter. So identity is not the only one. Identity perimeter works with your network perimeter, which apply to all your assets and help you integrate the latest technology with having, as we said, the behavior analytics and maybe machine learning across different directions. All this should make you more secure. So before we begin, what do you need? What do you need to have in this journey? First of all, as you saw in my previous slides, you have to identify and categorize your workloads. So what is this workload for? What is the purpose? How important is it to the business? How critical and sensitive the workload, the more critical and sensitive the workloads are, you might have to implement more security controls to be able to protect it. Don't forget, the more you create controls for each workload, it's going to create a digital identity. This digital identity will help you to help you secure the application and services. And this will also create an isolation point for your access controls, data storage, data encryption policies, where you can apply all these. Second, you have to implement access control policies. Again, before you even go there, you have to test each and every application that you have. I bet you're going to challenge lots of issues. You need to implement purpose-driven security policies too, and the tools to permit or deny the access. So when it comes, what is the purpose? Do I need to give full access or limited access? Remember 2 slides ago? You are going to have multiple layers of security, and you can use different tools to see if those layers are really integrated and working. It's important to identify critical workloads and wrap the necessary security around them. So this will give you also auditing. Once you have your user risk identified with MFA and the rest, your device risk based on the policies, you can remediate if there is any risk. If not, you can allow those using device to have access to your documents, modern apps, protocols, network, and etc. And you can give full trust signal, full access review, but it all goes, as you can see in the middle, together with your threat intelligence to remediate if the access is needed or not. So what principles do you need? First of all, remember, we need to be strict in your principle. You need to be able to verify explicitly. You need to always authenticate and authorize based on all available data points, including, as I mentioned earlier, identity, location, device health, service, workload, data classification, and anomalies. Again, it's really important to use least privileges. Least privileges, if you're using Microsoft, it's inbuilt. If you're using some other application, I know they have it as well. So your user doesn't have to be admin all the time. Maybe just enough administration or just in time administration rights will minimize many other risks as well. One of the core principles of zero trust is assume breach. You have to change the mindset of your organization to adopt the assumed breach, because remember, you want to minimize breaches, you want to minimize lateral movement. For that, you need to segment your network, your users, your devices, your apps, and for all of this, your enterprise has to be, or your organization has to be aware. All session needs to be verified and encrypted. And if you have analytics, this will be just the cherry top of the cake. Besides that, you have some components. What are your zero trust components? Of course, the identities. I'm talking for the last 20 minutes about it. You should verify and secure each identity with a strong authentication across all your digital estate. Your devices, same thing applies. Your application, same thing applies. Especially if you have shadow IT, this will be, you're going to be, in my case, I noticed there were shadow ITs, some applications which I was not even aware of CISO, which was somehow hidden from the report. It was a great opportunity to see those. Data. The data has to move from the perimeter-based data protection to data-driven protection. Again, I gave some hints earlier. You have to be able to use intelligence to classify and label data. Some data is not allowed to leave the premises at all. Some data is not allowed to share it. Some data needs to be encrypted, regardless if it's at rest or at transit. And for those, you need to have great policy-driven software or organization. Your infrastructure. You have to have telemetry to detect attacks and anomalies. You should be able to automatically log and flag risky behavior and employ least privileged access principles. Again, for that, I keep mentioning Komodo Dragon platform, which is giving you the zero trust inbuilt. And if you use this, for example, Microsoft Cloud, this is taking you to the next level of security. Your network. Ensure devices and users aren't trusted, as we mentioned earlier. So, what was the deployment path? I went through 4 steps in some organizations that I either managed or consulted as cybersecurity architect in my previous roles. First step is identifying users and devices that attempt to connect to the network. Of course, for this, you will need an identity and access management. Second step is to set up access controls for application, file, and service access. You need a proper firewall, which allows you to create macro segmentation. Third step, you need to be able to deploy tools continuously to monitor the network and the device behavior. For that, you need to have a network detection and response with hopefully AI and Hinge. Again, for that, you can use Komodo, as I said. Fourth step, you have to evaluate remote access to ensure proper security and authentication. You can use remote access VPNs, such as Cisco. So all this will take you to the deployment plan as well. Probably noticed zero trust in a non-greenfield environment means you're going through everything. It's like when you're moving from A location to B location in your house, you have to open your cabinet, your garage, and sort out the stuff that you don't need. The stuff that you have, the stuff that you're gonna carry, the stuff that can get broken, and you will need to box them accordingly. And your new house should have you're not gonna store your Mount Black pen together to my Komodo pen, which I got for free in one of the events, or for Microsoft Sheraton pen, which I have in my hand actually now. So I have one of this expensive pen, which is in my bag, where this is in my table. So if I lose this, probably it's not gonna happen as the same as when I lose my expensive pen. So taking this into IT, gives you the zero trust. So we talked about the zero trust model earlier, the zero trust access model. So you should have some sort of conditional access. For that, if you are a Microsoft customer, great, because you can use Azure Active Directory, which will give you this. Of course, there are many other Microsoft applications that you can use, but if you look at SaaS applications, you can use maybe AWS, Google, Box, you name it. But the important thing here is to secure identity and systems. Don't forget, phishing, credential theft, data acceleration will give your privileged administrators away. For that, you should accelerate your credential theft defenses, and you should have proper security implementation to minimize the risk. As I said, you can use just-in-time, just enough administration, or some products, I don't want to keep mentioning Komodo, but you can use also, for example, Microsoft Threat Defender, Advanced Threat Defense Protection software, and so on. Because things are changing. The evaluation of security has changed. It's not about physical, network, or identity, it's combined. And the concept set of controls between assets and threats is going to give you the security that you're trying to implement, the security that you need to take over. Again, my biggest recommendation is going to be, look at what you have and identify. Instead of taking your complex environment at one stage, do it like an ISO 27001 implementation. Select a unit, start utilizing your cloud, and start to move part by part. And at the end, you can just eliminate the rest of the network. With this, I'm coming to end of my presentation. We had only 30 minutes, but this is really huge to cover, dear Gita. But I wanted to give my challenges, my recommendations, and the information which I went through. And I hope it was beneficial for all of you. Thank you very much for the invitation, for listening, and I'm looking forward to connect with you in social media.
Thanks, Erdal, for the insightful presentation and highlighting some of the core essentials of the Zero Trust implementation process. Thanks for attending. This is Geeta Nandikotkur for ISMG.